The Rangers adapt the Quantum Defender to disable the crystals, and they do the same to Frax's robot, destroying it. In the blast, Frax is killed as well. Nadira finally calls out her father on his cold, callous behavior, and he tosses her aside, enraged at the loss of all his forces and the insubordinate words of his daughter. The Rangers move to face Rancic head-on. However, he just storms through them, hitting them hard enough to demorph them, save for Wes, who initiates his battleizer. However, Rancic still manages to fight him off too, though the explosion wounds and weakens him. Jen stands against him.
My mission is to bring you back. And I promise you, I'm going to do it!
Don't make promises you can't keep.
The rest of the Rangers are unable to stand with her, so she walks off.
Come and get me!
Rancic pursues, but it's also where Nadira is helping to protect the baby who is in the crossfire. Jen manages to blast Rancic, who discovers to his horror that he accidentally shot Nadira. Upon realizing what his hate for humans almost cost him, Rancic surrenders to the Rangers. Wes says his farewell to the Rangers, the Silver Guardians there to see them off.
Better take it easy on that racetrack, Lucas.
Well, at least now I have a driver's license.
Wes, you're the best.
Katie, let go.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I'm actually gonna miss your hugs.
Goodbye, Wes.
Trip, I know. I'm gonna miss you too. Can I keep my hat? Yeah.
Bye, Wes.
You take care of Trip, Circuit.
Always have, always will.
I wish you could stay.
Me too. But we both know I can't. I want you to have this, Wes. Don't ever forget me.
Never could.
I should have told you this a long time ago. I love you.
I love you too. I wish I could live another 1,000 years so we could be together again. Take care.
You okay? What now, son?
I don't know.
Well, I got a business proposition for you. Now, wait. Just hear me out. I want to make some changes in the Silver Guardians. Listen to me. We will protect the entire city for free. I I need a good leader. What about it?
I'll do it. But I want Eric as my partner. What do you say?
Would have been my choice.
I think the future looks pretty bright.
The end of the episode also has a brief preview of the next season, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Time Force is a very good series, but I think a lot of the fan base has overblown it a bit. Acting-wise, everybody turns in a very good performance for their characters, save for Lucas, but I'll get to that when we get to the characters. The story moves at a very good pace, but there are tons of plot holes that are never properly addressed in the series. One of the things that people have said about the series to me is the fact that Rancic is so sympathetic. Except he isn't. At all. Rancic isn't some glorious freedom fighter trying to help mutant kind have better lives. We're not talking about Magneto here. Rancic just wants to cause general anarchy, chaos, and destruction. He never talks about trying to help make things better for mutants, nor do we see any evidence that he's actually anything other than a criminal. We don't really see why that is, either. Now, he says it's because humanity shunned him, but that's completely contrary to the flashback with Frax. A human displays immense kindness to him and provides a treatment for his condition, caused by a fellow mutant, I should add. And what does Rancic do? Laughs that the guy's a fool and burns down his lab with the intent of killing him. There's a difference between having a sympathetic backstory and actually being sympathetic. Rancic has a sympathetic backstory, shunned for being different. However, his consistent behavior completely justifies people's fears about him. Some have speculated that alterations to the series were made after 9/11 to make Rancic seem less sympathetic, but the truth is most of the series was completed and aired before 9/11. The only real change we know about is an edit to the 4th episode where a shot of buildings exploding is changed to a quarry explosion. Frax, on the other hand, has a sympathetic backstory, and it could be argued that he's a lot more of a sympathetic character. When he was rebuilt as a robot, one could say that, to paraphrase Doctor Who again, his very soul was surgically removed. You see flashes of humanity in Frax, particularly near the end when Nadira apologizes to him for everything that's happened to him and even calls him by his human name. There is no such humanization, for lack of a better term, for Rancic until the very end. His only humanizing factor is his love for his daughter and seeing that he almost hurt her in his blind rage. It's rather anticlimactic for this whole big series, but I give it points for being different than just a big battle or something. At first I thought the relationship between Nadira and Rancic was just off-kilter comedic relief, but in all honesty, he's a very unique father. Sure, he was always spoiling her, but then in the episode Nadira's Dream Date, we see something you wouldn't normally suspect. Nadira gets the wrong impression that Lucas is in love with her, and while Rancic is at first irritated by this news, his daughter's happiness is paramount. He goes to Lucas and, threatens him to treat her right, but then actually helps him on the date, and when his monster attacks, he actually interferes in the fight to tell it and the Cyclobots to not attack him. Yes, he loves his daughter so much that he was willing to put aside his hatred for the Rangers, one Ranger at least, in order to keep Nadira happy. Like I said, in a normal situation, he'd forbid her to see him, probably try to kill him for daring to pursue a relationship with her, etc., etc. As such, while it's kind of a silly, stupid filler episode, it helps build the idea that he does care about her more than anything else. Something else different in this season that really made me raise an eyebrow was how the Time Force was vehemently against killing monsters. Mind you, they technically aren't monsters in the same way they were in the old days, but mutants, which could mean they're severely mutated humans or just some other form of life. But it's considered immoral to kill them, as demonstrated in Jen's Revenge when a mutant continually insults her over the supposed death of Alex and she's ready to kill it. Mind you, it undercuts your theme a bit when you freeze them the exact same way you destroy them, i.e. shooting them a whole bunch, but hey, it does the job. Another point that people bring up about the series is that it talks about such things as racism because of the people's reaction to Rancic and the mutants at large. Sadly, I must again disagree. Racism, in one allegory or another, is brought up all of once. Trip Takes a Stand, which features a mutant that was in the cryo prison for petty theft and doesn't want to fight, but just to stay in the prison so he doesn't have to worry about feeding himself or the like. If they had done some more with that, more episodes centering around prejudice in some regard, where we saw mutants being oppressed and West was against what would be normal attitudes in the year 3000 or something like that, I may have bought into it, but we're given no reason to believe that mutants aren't treated as anything but fairly in the future, especially when we see 2 episodes where mutants do have equal rights and they're squandered. One was Jen's former partner, and the other was in The Last Race, who seemed like an ordinary sort of person, except he was determined to race fast cars and defeat Luke at racing, and didn't much care about causing destruction or anything. Subsequently, credit where credit is due for giving us a believable reason why the main villain only sends out one monster at a time. Rancic is powerful, yes, but if he unleashed the full amount of mutants in the prison at once, it's very likely they would have gone, well, why the heck should we follow your orders when we outnumber you 100 to 1? Lucas is the least developed, so we'll talk about him first. His character basically revolved around his driving and his quote-unquote coolness. He's popular with women, he acts suave, and cares a lot about his appearance. He undergoes no significant change other than his basic nobility, like with the other Rangers. His acting was just kind of there. Trip is kind, trusting, compassionate, but a little ditzy and clumsy. As the kindest, it also makes sense that it was his intervention that caused Nadira's change of heart about humanity. He is brave and is willing to sacrifice himself to protect the innocent, as he did during the aforementioned episode with the petty criminal who wanted to be frozen again. His telepathy was useful, though underutilized in my humble opinion. It seemed like he would be the most useful in hunting down Rancic, though I can't recall a single instance where the Rangers actively attempted to locate the cryo prison and go after Rancic. Katie is my favorite character of the Time Force, but also sadly underdeveloped. She had a very good episode dedicated to her character development, Future Unknown, where Circuit first reveals that time is changing thanks to their presence. Before that point, Katie had been confident, friendly, and rather unsubtle in facing off against what she saw as injustice. Future Unknown caused her to start rethinking her actions out of fear that the alterations to history would prevent her from being reunited with her family. I should note, though, that apparently some episodes were shown in the wrong order, and an episode where she went back in time and made some minor alterations deliberately was shown after Future Unknown, making it rather head-scratching given how she was previously emotionally paralyzed from doing any action out of fear of changing the timeline. Then she goes back in time and beats up some bullies and telling a guy to man up even though history says he wasn't supposed to. Nah, the space-time continuum could frankly go ram it. Which leads into a gripe with the series I have regarding the time travel. Repeatedly we're told that their actions are altering history, and we do hear of some specific examples, like the Silver Guardians or the Rame tank, but when Alex says they've done serious damage to the future, we never learn of what that means exactly. His character acts differently, and it doesn't seem likely that he would have survived the injuries sustained from Rancic. The only answer that would have made sense to me is that the timeline changes actually brought him back to life, but that's never said. Would have made a heck of a kicker, though, making the Rangers question their actions about what they should or shouldn't be doing. Jen was serious-minded, a leader, and a skilled fighter. Definitely a change from the traditional Pink Ranger, who's usually the happy-go-lucky type. While there was always confusion about whether or not it was Wes or Jen who was the leader, even if Wes was supposed to lead, Jen was at least second in command and tended to be the one who actually was trying to push them to complete their missions. Her relationship with Wes built over time and very well done, though that's gotta be kinda creepy, like dating a younger version of your boyfriend's grandfather. It's still kinda squicky. She started off as the most determined to bring Rancic to justice and the easiest one to get rattled because of the loss of Alex. By the end, she's not exactly lighthearted, but she is more inclined to have some fun with her teammates. Wes, when he started, was just average, a bit fun-loving, but had a good heart. However, learning of all the possibilities of the future, as well as seeing what kind of man his father was at first, was what put him on the course to alter his destiny. He didn't change very much, but he definitely grew more confident and learned that people aren't always what they seem, as he learned from his father, from Eric, and possibly even from Rancic at the end, or next season, but we'll get to that. Eric, of course, started out with a chip on his shoulder and always determined to do things his way. Envious, jealous, headstrong, and as a result made a good anti-heroic foil for the Rangers. Like I said earlier, I'm not sure what it was that caused him to mellow out in the latter half of the season, but it was gradual, and he did actually care about the Rangers' safety, even if he didn't want to admit it. Something of interest to note is that originally Alex was going to be the Quantum Ranger. He would travel back in time, and Wes and Alex were supposed to be played by twins. That idea was changed, of course, and all the better, I think. Sure, Alex creates a whole bunch of plot holes, but I can't imagine an actor similar to Wes playing the more aggressive Eric. And Another thing to note is that originally Eric was supposed to die like his Sentai counterpart. They even filmed the beach scene at the end of Time Force without him before it was changed around to him surviving. It was apparently a rather expensive series, thanks to the production having to close down some sections of LA during filming of the more elaborate battles to match the Sentai footage as closely as they could. Speaking of monetary issues, the series was also apparently planned to have 10 additional episodes, as well as the potential for a movie, but fear of a then upcoming Screen Actors Guild strike cut the series back as well as the film. Overall, Time Force succeeded because the story was entertaining, the acting was above average for Power Rangers, owed to many of the cast having previous acting credits under their belts, and the action was good. The series is, of course, about predestination versus free will. Do we have control over our destiny, or, in fact, should we have control over our destiny? Ultimately, the decision is free will, damn the consequences. But that's hurt by the fact that, as I said, we don't see any actual damage to the future that this is supposedly causing. Still, the idea of overcoming adversity and deciding for oneself who they are and what's their ultimate fate is very much a part of the season and probably helped secure its position as one of the most beloved of all Power Rangers. It is, by no stretch of the imagination, a bad series. It is a great, entertaining ride from start to finish, and I enjoyed it immensely. It is not, however, my favorite season. That remains, at the time of this video, to be in space. Nor do I think of it as the single best season of the show. Not only do I not feel it to be that great, I still have 8 more seasons to watch to decide that. I do think it's better than Lightspeed Rescue by virtue of at least having better villains. If you think that this is the best season, more power to you. However, this is a biased perspective, as I said from the start, and while I think it's a great series, there are better. Next season is not better than Time Force, but I do think that it's a vastly underrated series, and I'll tell you why when we see the Guardians of the Earth unite in Power Rangers Wild Force.
To the future.
So guys, that was my reaction to Linkaras' History of Power Rangers Part 2 video. Time Force is actually one of my favorite Power Ranger shows. I really do enjoy it. So please be sure to comment down below, subscribe, hit the like button, press the notification bell to be notified about future videos, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.